So one of the reasons I feel like some of the Advaita texts and stuff that I've read in the past can be a little bit confusing is because they use that you are that idea of you are that. Um, you are that, yeah. This is why I like the Buddhist texts, or maybe just the Buddhist idea of no self, because the fact is that there is no self. There's no you in the center. There's no hub in the center of the wheel. Yeah, it's all ideas, concepts, and movements happening. There's nothing there essentially. Yeah, there's the space of awareness, and then what arises within that space. And I think sometimes when it comes to like the you are that idea, there can be an understanding of that you are that, but there's still that fucking you there in the brain. It's not that there's anything wrong with the what's written down, no, but it's the understand how the brain takes that. Is it kind of like holds on to a little bit of the you. It's like an inquiry. I use like this will happen or this would happen when I was doing like a lot of inquiry stuff was like a thought arises and then to who does that arise? And then there's the I. Yeah, there's the I. And then if there's the question, who does that I arise to? There's a little bit of looking that goes now for the I that sees the I. Yeah, so you're still bound to the I. The you-ness is still there. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but it means that there's a little bit of belief still put in the idea that you're going to get it. Or that I'm going to get it. That I'm going to obtain what I already am, which is insane. You can obviously see how that's insane. Yeah, this is like the head. This is the head taking awareness and trying to make it its own tool. Yeah, it's like it goes and looks. And it will keep looking forever. Yeah, but the real fact is that there's no self in the center of it. And for me, I think that that's been really important. It's like a little bit of a catch in the whole inquiry thing. There's nothing to affirm at the end of it. It's like almost like the I am that or you are that is a completely silent thing. That not even an affirmation, but that little statement, I am that or you are that, is a statement of silence. It's like beyond words. If we were to put words on silence, maybe it would be that or something. But it's really, I think it's so important to see that there is no hub in the wheel. There's no self there. So there's all this action taking place and it lands nowhere. That's the beauty of it. You see? That's the beauty of it. So it's like in the 12 steps of recovery, we look at that word self, self-pity, self-reliance, self-centeredness, yeah. This is all of self, but self is not a thing. It's not a thing that you can grab. You can't give me yourself. There's nothing there, you see? It's like action. Action with no actor. It's the happening, right? And again, it comes back to like inquiry, where when you get into the doership of shit, is like when you're doing inquiry, it gets to a point where inquiry gets taken by the head and used to again put you as the doer, the inquirer. So there has to be a fucking end to that inquiry. You see, because the doership is really what's bonding us to the self, and that all the events that are happening to us, and therefore us are doing the events, which is not true. Because there is no self in the center of it. There is a sense of individuality, and there is an individuality arising, a sense of that. Body, mind, all this different shit going on. Yeah. But it's not the fact of what you are. It's an aspect of that. Yeah. It's like part of the play that's happening. The thing is if there's not a real conviction in the belief maybe or understanding of that no selfness, yeah, then we can still be bound in a way to that I and to that doership, specifically to the doership. I'm going to get out of this bondage. Yeah, I'm inquiring bondage. It comes in all these little different ways, but I like, there's like, I guess the Course of Miracles talks on this a little bit. It's like the belief of conviction. And they talk about it in the big book as well, to be convinced, yeah. Because if there's still a little bit of belief that you are the body and the mind, that means there's still a bit of bondage there. Yeah. Because it comes with the belief that we put into it. So then when the head makes that little move of, I'm the meditator, or I'm going to get out of this, you're bound. Yeah, and you're seemingly not getting free. Because there's still a little bit of belief, essentially, that the I is real. That it's there, that there's something there. There's nothing there. Behind thought and behind the illusion or the appearance of that I, there's nothing there. That's the release. That's when the hand opens. Yeah. And then the head will come back in and claim the open hand. Now, that I comes back in. I had a bit of freedom, or I am free. Yeah. It's very important to keep the fucking hand open. But to keep the hand open, it has to mean that there's nothing to grab onto. That's the belief, yeah? There's no ball for the hand to grab onto. The ball, being self, is not there, yeah? So that has to be convinced of, that there's no ball there, and then the hand will no longer grab at the self, because it sees the nothingness of it. Yeah. You can't make a no thing into a thing, and you're definitely not going to use no thing to find thingness. Yeah. Right, because the bondage, yeah, is through that doership. And the head will take you on all these little adventures, you being the doer of what's happening. Which can get really fucked up, by the way. You could start doing a lot of crazy shit, yeah. under the guidance counselor of your head. If the faith is put into it that you're there, the one listening to the head, man. But it's hilarious from the back end of it. From behind it, it's funny. From in front of it, it's not so funny. It's very uncomfortable living, under the direction of that elusive self. This is why I think the Buddhist concept of no self is really, that's why that hits so hard. It's like Guang Po, like the perceiver can't be what's being perceived cannot be the perceiver, or the perceiving. What's being perceived cannot be the perceiving, you see? It's just a negation. It's not at the end, there I am, right? Because then that's, again, another claiming of the head. Then you're back into bondage, you see? So it's like allowing the thing to fall apart and not put it back together. And not put it back together because it was never a thing in the first place. You see, you are, by thinking that you are the I or the self, you're giving non-thingness thingness, or the illusory of thingness. And when it doesn't do what things do, you get very irritated. Yeah, because it's not a thing. So it's not going to do thing type stuff. It doesn't exist. Yeah. The only thing that truly seems to exist is that awareness, is the what's before. What's before? Space. Space. But it's important to hammer home that no self. Because otherwise there's still an idea that there's an idea of someone who has an idea of self. Yeah, there's no hub in the wheel. There's no core in the apple. You see, there's just a bunch of going on. without some one that it's going on to. That's why inquiry, negation is so important into the I, but that inquiry has to be dropped. Because inquiry becomes an anchor again to something that you're not. Yeah. It's like getting slapped with that no selfness. Bam, and then continuing to look. You see, what's continuing to look? If you are the thing that you're searching for, what's doing the searching? You see? I think it's really important to look at that. And more importantly, who is the searching arising to, or what is the searching arising to? Because there's nothing there. If you go inside the body and look for I, you find nothing. There's not one there to be found. You see, and then the reoccurring of the self keeps coming. The action of thought, let's say, keeps happening, yeah, but it's not landing anywhere. And that's the freedom, really. It's not to stop the thought or to try to change the thought or make this illusory self into a super self, yeah. It's to see that you're not the whole thing. That there's not you there that it's arising to. Because it's only arising because it thinks it's arising to something. The head is trying to convince something that you're it, to give it the life that it doesn't have, to give it the existence that it doesn't have. Wow. That's it. And then it'll take you on a run. You know? For some of us it gets super uncomfortable. Because the self is already super self-centered, meaning it only considers and thinks about itself. It only thinks about its own individuality. And then if you have that tendency of the alcoholic or the addict, that is like pour gasoline on that and light fire on that self-centeredness, and now it's super self-centered, and you're the only thing that gets thought about all the time. And when it's the only thing that's getting thought about, man, that is like super bondage. Yeah. It's like you're tied to you're actually bound to the idea of being a self. Yeah. There is no self, so there's nothing to be bound to. It's bondage to an idea. It's bondage to an idea. That's why Annamalai Swami says, just give up all the old ideas about yourself. In AA, they say, give up all your old ideas completely, or the outcome will be nil. All the old ideas would be that you are self, that there is a self and it's arising to a you. Yeah. And I do feel like it's a little bit of a belief thing, like if I put a bunch of belief in self, in that individuality, yeah, and then that starts to get withdrawn through inquiry or through recovery or whatever the hell you're doing, yeah. If there's a little bit of belief left in that, it's kind of like there's a small fish swimming in the ocean still, you see. So we end up trying to work for two gods, let's say. The very finite God, the head, and then the infinite. And then it seems like getting pulled back and forth all the time. So that conviction of no self, yeah, that will break that bondage. To be convinced, to see that there's no I there. There's a sense, yeah, there might be a little bit of a feeling of I, but it's just not there. There's no fact of that. No self. No self. And then the you are that is like, it's a felt sense, which is like way before all that self, which has always been there. It's never not there. This is the thing, the freedom, the freedom from bondage of self is always there. In a way, you're always unbound from self. But there's a play going on, which is playing out the bondage of self. Yeah, stop going to the play. Once you see that it's a play, let yourself be convinced that it's a play. Yeah. Stop going to the theater. Stop going to the theater and looking for reality, let's say. Taking the play to be actually what's happening. Because it's not really what's happening. Reality is like the stage the play happens on. Yeah, it's not the play. So this concept is very important. No self. No self. Because it also comes again back to the doership of seeking. Is who's doing the seeking? What's doing the seeking? Yeah. It's then everything that takes a step forward is not you, and it gets negated fast. You know? Everything that nope. Maybe I should, nope. Nope. You see? It's like you can't, this is the thing, it's like Advaita, non-duality pulls all your clothes off essentially, and then you're just there naked, and it's like, nope, I need to get some pants. Nope. It doesn't do it. You see? Yeah. This is the thing. It pulls out the body and the mind. So anything that makes a move tries to step forward into more seeking, not you. That's the thing. That's the beauty. And then you can put down all of that weight of trying to obtain. Because what's trying to obtain is not you. What you're looking for, you already are. You don't obtain it, you're it. You're the thing. The non-thing, whatever. But you're not going to obtain it. You can't obtain it. Yeah. You can't get free as a self because self can't be free. You see? It's almost like self, the head is bound to its own idea. And it's not going to be convinced out of the idea. You just see that you're not the idea. You're not the concept haver. Yeah. And then the idea may go on. I am a body. The head keeps going, I am a body. I gotta watch out. I gotta get this. I gotta, I don't feel free. It's like, well, what's all of that shit? Because you've seen that there's no I and that you're definitely not it. Yeah. So I don't feel free. I mean, there's a lot of questioning towards, I don't feel free. Well, okay. Let's start with the I. Yeah, which doesn't exist and is not what you are. Okay. So then everything that comes after that I is pretty much nil. You see? This is the thing. There's no self, then there's no questions. It's like the gig is up. There's no self. It's done. There's no self. But there's all this action. Who's it arising to? An illusion. Okay, then what? Then you're done. It stops. You see? But the stop becomes more comfortable. For sure, living the stop is way more comfortable than living the action of self. Holy shit. Oh my gosh. The weight can be put down. The weight that you can't see can be put down. Yeah. The weight is like, oh man. The roadblock is that you are the weight. You are the roadblock. Yeah. The idea of you is the roadblock. So to approach that as I am that, I am that, I am that, that you is going to be real strong, man. Let the I am that be pronounced through silence. Yeah. As you say, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that. I think that's where it lives, man. That's where it lives. And then all of that arising, thinking about you is fucking, it just like, in my experience, it chills out. It still comes up, but it's like, it's not landing anywhere. So it's just like, you smoke a cigarette and you blow the smoke out, and the smoke just goes like this, you see. The smoke doesn't turn into some kind of concept smoke, and then it's just like flying around your head all the time. You're carrying around all of its manifestations. So that thing of no self, when we study self in recovery, you're studying what's not you. When you study self in Buddhism, you're studying what's not you. Oh, which is beautiful. But the studying of it can also turn into the book of bondage, you see? Because now you're the studier of self. So that has to be careful. That's why I like the no self. The fact of no self. There's nothing there. Yes? It's all arising. There's a sense of individuality. There's something going on that to be played with in this world. But the absolute fact that we're talking about here is that there is no self. Yeah. So if we start from there and then we go study self. You see that it's not even you that's studying what you're not, but it's almost like helping get the head to a point where it's convinced. Yeah, and then once the head is convinced, then you're before, you see? Once you see all the corners of the room, you can say, I'm not the room, essentially. At least in my experience, that's how it's been playing. That's how it's been playing out.